one of the most popular Sonic characters and regarded by many to be their favorite and the best Sonic character, and that is Shadow the Hedgehog. Shadow the Hedgehog had quite a bit of story in Sonic, and he really changed a lot throughout the whole entire series. Starting off in 2001 with Sonic Adventure 2, Shadow was first introduced in this game. Now, when Shadow was first introduced, he was basically this character where he was portrayed as to be the evil Hedgehog, and he was the next rival to Sonic. See, during the time, Sonic only had Knuckles and Metal Sonic, so seeing Shadow, who looked just like Sonic, and who basically was a darker Sonic, it fit perfectly because Shadow could be the foil to what Sonic is. He was darker, and Sonic was more lighthearted. Shadow, during this time of Sonic Adventure 2, he had a little bit of an arc, a little bit of a character arc, where he went from hating humanity in Sonic Adventure 2, and he started to realize that humanity, that Maria, he had quite a strong bond with in Sonic Adventure 2, he just realized that he should just be giving people a chance to be happy, and he should be fighting for humanity. Now, see, this is quite an interesting development because Shadow went from being this character in Sonic Adventure 2 where all he craved about was revenge, and he just wanted to fill out his purpose, and that was to get revenge on humanity. But because of Maria and him remembering, well, Maria wanted him to do the right thing, he remembers at the end of the game that he should do the right thing. And so he helps Sonic try to take out the Bio Lizard, and then the final hazard. Against that fight, Shadow sacrificed him. This was so cool to see because Shadow was willing to actually be a part of the team. He was willing to fight for the greater cause. And he actually had quite significance in this game. This game just really did Shadow so well. Because of how popular Shadow was in this game, fans begged Sega to bring Shadow back, and then Sonic Heroes comes 2 years later, which, you guessed it, Shadow came back. In Sonic Heroes, he was still cool and calm, like how he was in Sonic Adventure 2. And obviously, when the time came, he got serious. And that's the thing with Shadow, was he was a very level-headed type of character. He still was willing to help others. And Shadow basically had this role where basically he was trying to figure out, like, who he was. And it almost seemed like nobody was really giving him the real answers. He even asked Eggman a few times, like, well, who am I and why am I here? But Eggman would refuse to tell him. I'm going to be honest, guys, I don't understand why Shadow never thought to ask Rouge, like, hey, do you know who I am? Because Rouge knew who Shadow was in Sonic Adventure 2. I can understand Sonic and Knuckles and Tails and Amy not telling Shadow, but, well, like, Rouge could have explained to Shadow, hey, so basically you're this ultimate life form that was created 50 years ago, and she never thought to explain it to him. I don't understand why, but I can understand why she was just after Eggman's treasure this whole entire game. So Shadow's basically confused as to who he is. Shadow is willing to help Sonic try to take down Metal Sonic, even though he didn't go Super Shadow. And even though he still didn't get his answer of who he was still willing to help Sonic out, willing to make sure that they could defeat Metal Sonic because that's what he knew was the right thing to do. Shadow still was trying to do the right thing. And even though he did have amnesia, it still was cool to see. 2005 comes, we get Shadow the Hedgehog. He has his own game. Shadow uses guns and he swears. He says, damn and hell. This whole game was focused on Shadow. Shadow's character in this game is kind of all over the place. One scene where he can be very edgy and just like, I don't need your help, Sonic. And then he could go on this other scene where he's very maniacal. And this minute he's trying to stop Black Doom. And then next minute later, he sides with Black Doom. There's a whole lot going on in this game in terms of Shadow's character. Shadow wasn't nearly as interesting as he once was in Sonic Adventure 2 or even in Sonic Heroes. I will say the final playthrough in this game, it's really cool to see like how this game basically tells you he's moving on from who he was and he's moving on into a different part of his life. Shadow actually was the ultimate life form this whole time because of his self-sacrifice in Sonic Adventure 2 and Sonic Heroes. It led him to question who he was. Because of Shadow the Hedgehog, we got to finally find out that this was Shadow, and you won't know if he's Shadow unless you're 9 minutes into the final fight with Devil Doom. It's kind of cool to see that Shadow did get the answer finally, and we got the answer finally. That's really Shadow. 2006, Sonic 06, as everybody knows, is this game. A lot of people claim this to be one of the worst Sonic games of all time. And Shadow was in this game. He was so quiet and reserved and calm. He was working for Gun. Shadow was doing things basically on his own. He was becoming more accepting of he needs to move on from his past. Seeing Shadow actually be different in this game, it really was neat to see because I really enjoyed how Shadow had a pretty big part in this game. I mean, he's one of the 3 main characters of this game. This game, Shadow actually has a lot more of a goal, and that's to try to stop Mephiles. And see, even Mephiles has tried to say to Shadow for him to join him and to think, like, well, humanity is going to turn on him eventually. Shadow was like in this game that he's already been through that. I like the way Sonic 06 really handled Shadow. It almost made me think, like, wow, like, Sega seems like they're doing a great job with Shadow's character. Well, after Sonic 06, Shadow basically was just there. I feel really like Shadow was done dirty after Sonic 06. I feel like he's just kind of become a character where he's not as relevant to the main story anymore. And I get, like, when you're making a story about Sonic, it can be sometimes a little tricky trying to fit in all your favorite characters. I just think that Shadow really wasn't the same after Sonic 06. Shadow really became useless in a way in the mainline Sonic games. Because think about it, after Sonic 06, what other games came out with Shadow in it? It was Sonic Unleashed, Sonic Colors, Sonic Generations, and Shadow was in Sonic Generations, but he was just a boss fight. And that was it. He wasn't playable, or he wasn't really relevant to the whole story as a whole. And yeah, you can say, well, he was in Sonic Forces, and you can play him in Sonic Forces. That's true. And I will say, I did like how Shadow was handled better in Sonic Forces than he was after Sonic 06, but I just felt like he wasn't really as big. It just felt like he just embarrassed Infinite, and Infinite got mad. I guess in some way, every character does change throughout the whole entire Sonic series. I mean, look at Tails, look at Knuckles. They changed a lot throughout the whole entire series. And I guess Shadow was just kind of at that point where he was changing too. I just hope that Shadow can become relevant like he once was, how he was in the previous Sonic games of Sonic Adventure 2 and Sonic Heroes and Sonic 06 and all that. I still like Shadow, don't get me wrong. Don't take this video as me saying I hate Shadow. All I'm saying is I would like to see Shadow become better in the next Sonic game. And this is just my opinion. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion at the end of the day. Let me know what you guys think of Shadow, and let me know, did you guys enjoy how he changed throughout the whole entire Sonic series? And what was your favorite version of Shadow? Was it Adventure 2 Shadow, Heroes Shadow, or Shadow in his own game, or 06 Shadow, or do you even like Forces Shadow? That's really all I have to say, so I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!